The assets we have in space, the satellites that are there for observation, for communication. I mean, these are the capabilities that are identifying the rocket launches, that are communicating to our forces and give America an extreme edge in this conflict.
And that's the head of NASA, Administrator Jared Isaacman, with me on Fox Business's Mornings with Maria of Friday on the U.S. assets in space being used in Operation Epic Fury, now in its 16th day. Joining me now is Fox News senior strategic analyst, retired four-star General Jack Keane. General, thanks so much for being here. What an incredible operation. What can you tell us about where we are in Operation Epic Fury at this point?
Well, we've been at this almost a couple of weeks now, and certainly we have made incredible progress here. We've stripped away pretty much almost 90% of the Iranian assets' ability to conduct offensive operation, and that's the obvious: ballistic missiles, drones, maritime capability. And also, we have just destroyed their manufacturing capability as well. And by that I mean these are the companies, public and private, that would build the future ballistic missiles and build the future drones. The mission is progressing quite significantly, and our commanders on the U.S. as well as the Israeli side are very confident about their ability to end this in a number of weeks. It'll take some time because they still have real capability there, and we're not going to finish until we take that capability away from them, to include what the Israelis are focusing on, Maria, and that is the organizations that really sustain the regime, the IRGC itself, the Law Enforcement Command, the Bajia militia, which represses the people, and they are attacking those militia groups that are in the streets at various checkpoints in various cities as we speak, and also the police infrastructure. So this is the mission plate that we have, and completely focused on it, and we have some time to go, but the progress has been quite significant.
And yet the Iranians have been able to hold the Strait of Hormuz hostage, General. I know that the president talked to us about what the U.S. military was able to do on Kharg Island, where Iran exports its oil. But the president was very clear that the U.S. did not touch the oil infrastructure there. What can you tell us about what's needed to loosen up the Strait of Hormuz as the president calls on allies to join this fight? And what about the Kharg Island impact as well?
Yeah, I understand the focus on the Straits of Hormuz. The media is focused on it, and it's obviously, people think this is a surprise. This has been in our playbook going all the way back to the 80s. Actually, we thought they would go after it, on day two. It took them a while to get around to it. Listen, here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to go toe-to-toe with the Iranians over the Strait of Hormuz. That's what they want us to do. They would love us to get into a fight with them, put some troops on the ground there in Iran, deal with the Straits of Hormuz, bring Navy into it. They welcome that fight. They have a tactical advantage over that fight, to be sure. We're not going to do that. Our main effort is to take their offensive capability away. By doing that, the byproduct will be to free up shipping to move through the Straits of Hormuz and be escorted by Navy vessels. That is our main effort, and believe me, we are not stopping that main effort. The Straits of Hormuz eventually will be a problem that will be solved, but not immediately. On Kharg Island, I think everybody has been educated now, is a major strategic asset of the Iranians because 90% of their oil flows through that distribution point. And what I believe taking down the military was all about, Maria, it's really about messaging the Iranians. We told them in no uncertain terms, by taking down the military capability and not taking down the oil infrastructure, we can take Kharg Island at a time of our choosing. And we choose not to take that now. Would we take it in the future? Those options are there for the president. Likely towards the end of this, because if we take Kharg Island, either we occupy it or blockade it, there's a number of things that we can do. It's kind of checkmate for the regime because now we own all of their major assets. It's 50% of their budget, 60% of their revenue, 80–90% of the distribution points for their oil. So it is clearly a strategic asset. But we will do that at a time of our choosing when it makes sense to us. And
Wow.
we've now sent a loud message to them that this is likely going to happen.
That's incredible. General, thank you so much for all that really important information. Always a pleasure. Thank you, sir. General Jack Keane joining us.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.